My theories and thoughts on the 21 Pilots hiatus. You guys asked for it. Here it is. And here's the question that you all want the answer to. When is 21 Pilots coming back? The simple answer, we don't have a freaking clue. I want to focus on the deeper question of what we can expect when they do arrive, but I will say this. The release of the singles and the album for Blurryface came as a surprise to me, so we can probably expect this when we least expect this. I mean, wasn't the album actually leaked several days before the scheduled release date? I know that one because a fan actually sent the Dropbox link to me when it happened. But the question I feel a little prepared to answer is when they get here, what can we expect? A couple of disclaimers. First of all, you're probably going to think that I'm missing things, so feel free to comment those below. Second, I'm going to ignore some theories. We don't have time for trolls or overeager imaginations. And third, a lot of this is me taking bits and pieces from what other members of the clique have theorized, so I want to give a huge citation / thank you to the entire Skeleton Clique for putting together some of the thoughts and ideas that I feel like I'm going to combine into one larger theory here. Hey guys, don't forget that Patreon week is coming up. If you want a song explained or you have some big question that you need answered in depth, be sure to join my Patreon in the description down below. Get access to the Still Needs Explaining podcast for $3 a month, and anybody who signs up before February 23rd can get the Soundwave art for car radio, like in that poster right there. It's super cool, you gotta check it out. And you can talk to people who care about stuff that you care about, but I digress. We need to talk about three things, and we're gonna base this on actual research, solid visual / lyrical analysis, and the word theory. None of us should fully believe theories until they're proven, and you can't believe everything that you hear. There are like 15 false alarms every week, so be skeptical of everything, including this video. First thing, let's look at exactly what Tyler has said. Now, sources have claimed that this quote showed up in an alternative press magazine interview, but I can't find the original source, and as a professor who actually teaches how to look for reliable sources, I cannot fully condone this one. Right now, I think it would be a little less up-tempo than the last record. I would want to focus a little more on the lyrical content. So slower, more focus on lyrics. And then in two quotes that I have verified from AP articles, he says, there are parts of the self-titled record that production-wise and vocally, there are so many things wrong with that record, or at least perceived as wrong, but the authenticity, lyrics, delivery, and the fearlessness of the songwriting, I'd like to try to take back to that. It's really hard to write a slower song. I want to try to write some slower songs again. So again, we see this focus on lyrics and on slowness. And then in another quote, I'm looking forward to what an even more confident 21 Pilots record sounds like. I'm not saying the songs will sound confident, I'm saying the song structures will. Lyrically, the songs will always be the same reason why I started writing them in the first place, to say things that I felt I couldn't say in a regular context. So there are several things that we can expect based on what Tyler himself has said. Going a little bit slower, like in some of the self-titled songs, a continued and maybe even deepened focus on lyrics, something that is close to my heart, and then more confidence coupled with the regular authenticity and vulnerability. And now we get into more of the conspiracy theories. So the second thing to talk about today is the logo. First of all, the 21 Pilots logo itself is a red line, a black dash, and a blue line. If you look at the Blurryface album cover, in kind of this position right here, you see a red circle and a red circle down here, which a lot of people theorize is that red slash. Also during the Blurryface era, we especially saw heavy use of the circle with the slash through it, suggesting that whatever that slash is and that red color, it's important to the concept of Blurryface. Maybe in a way, Blurryface is that slash, who knows? Well, if you look at the Twitter pics that announced the quote-unquote hiatus, you'll see that what the eye is looking at is largely the color red. And while that eye is open, all of the circles have slashes through them, but when the eye closes, the circle slashes go away, and all of a sudden we have dashes in the E. In addition, the primary color is now black, which is also the color of that dash in the original 21 Pilots logo. And if you look at the social media profile pictures, you have a little dash. Now, where does the blue line come into this? That's a good question, and I've seen an excellent YouTube theory video suggesting that blue is somehow the color of defeat, or at the very least that it's sort of like an opposite of Blurryface. Now, I don't completely agree with everything in that video. I think that the blue is kind of in a way the antithesis or the opposite of Blurryface. In fact, the negative of the color blue is the color red. And there have been various tweets from either the Blurryface account or the 21 Pilots account that suggest that blue and red are both very important colors kind of in conflict with each other. Blurryface has called blue the color of defeat, and a 21 Pilots tweet has suggested that the color blue is a good place to be. Slight bunny trail to what my theory of the original 21 Pilots logo means. The askew red line is probably Blurryface being out of order somehow. The blue line might be where you want to be in general and in life. And then somehow the little black dash connects both of them. And if we use a lot of the words that we've seen show up since all of this started happening, we can kind of guess at what the Dash era might be like. Now, I'm not saying that this next album is going to be focused on the Dash. It could be that in between albums, we're in the hiatus or in the Dash as we wait for that blue line to appear. But whether we're waiting for the Dash to happen or we're experiencing the Dash right now, I think that the Dash has to do with silence and darkness. After all, it is the color black. And if you wait till my third point, you'll see a lot more of what I mean. Essentially, since slightly before the Dash showed up, we've seen a lot of interesting words appear, both in theories and in actual reliable sources. We've had Josh mention Dema or Dema, which basically means towers of silence. We've seen the word silence featured heavily on Twitter. And then words like echo have appeared, or darkness. And Tyler himself earlier in 2017 posted an Instagram picture with the word whisperer. All of these things are reduced versions of something else. You whisper quietly instead of talking. An echo is just a quieter copy of something else. Darkness is the absence of light, and silence is the absence of sound. Essentially, in some respect, a hiatus from something bigger. So are we in the pause, or is the next album going to be focused around the absence of something else? I personally would love it if the next album was focused around the concept of silence. And I think all of this would fit really well with the idea of a deeper focus on lyrics rather than on music, and on slower music, so there'd be fewer notes, more silence in a way. Just a thought for now. But now let's look at the specific lyrics that were chosen for the shutout on Twitter. If you read them all together, it sounds something like this. You'll have to come and find me, my pretty sleeper. Wouldn't it be great if we could just lay down? I will fear the night again. Nobody dreams when they blink. Remember that morning is where night is dead, and now I just sit in silence. It could be a message about Tyler leaving us all to go and work on lyrics quietly by himself somewhere, but let's look at what songs these come from and what those songs are about. If you haven't seen my video in which I explain all of 21 Pilots songs in under 6 minutes, you really should. It gives a really good overarching idea of what they generally talk about. The first line, "You'll have to come and find me," comes from Polarize, essentially a song about taking the time to figure out what's right and wrong and sorting out yourself internally before you go external. My Pretty Sleeper is from Oh Miss Believer, and sleeper could mean two things. It could mean a car radio idea, which is the idea that sleeping is not necessarily good. We need to stay awake and fight for what's right. Or it could be an enviable situation where somebody's actually able to sleep, like they fought their battle, they fought their blurry face, and now they can rest. Keep in mind that a lot of Tyler's lyrics from Self-Titled through Vessel focus on this concept or this image of morning and nighttime. Nighttime was when his demons, his blurry face, would come torture him, and morning was the time that he longed for, even though it was bittersweet because he knew the night would come again. 14% of songs on Self-Titled mention that concept, and 42% of songs on Vessel mention that idea. In Blurry Face, we don't hear about it at all. So these lyrics that he picks here is definitely solidifying the idea that we're gonna go back to some self-titled themes and ideas. Then he has a line from Slowtown, "Wouldn't it be great if we could just lay down?" Slowtown is essentially the pre-stressed out, where he reworks a lot of the themes and ideas from Slowtown, essentially wanting to go back to a simpler time and just feel like you knew what was going on. I Will Fear the Night Again comes from Truce, and it's kind of him saying, I'm gonna go back into the darkness. Nobody Dreams When They Blink is Tyler kind of talking about his individuality and going back into maybe his mental headspace. It comes from the song Kitchen Sink, which is intensely tied with the concept of the logo, the idea that there are things that mean something to one person and that they don't have to tell anybody else what it means because it means something personal to them, and that that's their beginning of meaning or purpose. And then we have a line from Message Man where he sings, "Remember that morning is where night is dead," and so we go back to that nighttime, daytime theme. And the very last line closes everything out, and this is where we go to the true darkness, where we really step into the Dash, and it's "Now I Just Sit in Silence" from Car Radio. And Car Radio is about cutting out external noise and entertainment so that we ask ourselves the deep questions that we need to. If you're tracking with what all of these lyrics have been saying, it really makes it sound like Tyler is going back into the nighttime to wrestle with demons once again, and to sit in that silence without sleep necessarily, looking at other people he cares about maybe who are sleeping, but with him himself having to wrestle with these demons. He only dreams when he blinks, and he fears the night. And this nighttime, daytime contrast is generally the creative space where Tyler has made most of his music. Even the entire concept of Blurry Face comes from that struggle at night. And what's so perfect about this is that the eye that's closing as we look at the crowd, you know, as he closes out the red and goes to the black, I think that it's probably Tyler's eye. As he closes his eyes, he blinks, he begins dreaming, he begins thinking of lyrics or lines, and he enters into that nighttime. Essentially, that dash could be the blink when you dream. Tyler's giving us a chance to dream and to think while he's doing the same. People have said that they've seen Tyler and Josh in that crowd. I personally couldn't pick them out, and I could be wrong there, but that's how I think of it. I think that blink, that nighttime, that closing of the eyes, the darkness, the silence, I think it's that dash in the logo. And whether that's where we're about to be or not, I think that's where we are now. Who knows, maybe as some have theorized, the next album will be called Silence. And what is your reaction to what I've said? I'd love to hear your thoughts and theories too. Please comment those down below. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the ding bell too so you know when I upload. And check out my Patreon down below, get that poster, join the community, and get the Still Needs Explaining podcast for just $3 a month. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll talk to you next time.